Guys, like, comment, subscribe, share the video, especially if you love college football, especially if you love Michigan as much as I do. Okay, so let's start this thing off right. Michigan is bringing back majority of their whole football team. They have J.J. McCarthy coming back. They got Blake Corum coming back. They got Donovan Edwards, another running back coming back. Most of their defense is coming back. So that young football team that went 13-1 is coming back. That's a good thing for Michigan. They're going to be stronger and faster. They'll be able to do a lot more. I like their spring game. I liked what I saw there. Harbaugh had a pretty good recruiting class. He has more 4-stars coming in, so that'll build his program even better than what it is. So therefore, Michigan will have more elite talent to work with than what they've had before. Here we go. East Carolina is home. That team likes to upset people early in the year. They've done it before. They almost beat, who was it last year? NC State, who was ranked pretty highly. Not high, but pretty, like in the top 15, I think. No problem there. Michigan should run through those guys. Their running game is too much. I think Michigan's defense will be too physical. They'll force a lot of turnovers. They're going to get more sacks this year than last year. Then they host UNLV. That should be a win. Bowling Green at home. That's a win. Rutgers at home. Win. At Nebraska, I think Nebraska will be inspired to play Michigan at home because Michigan should be a top 10 team. Maybe top 5. Most likely top 5. But they're not ready. Michigan should have no problem winning at Nebraska. And then they have to go to Minnesota. This Minnesota game might be a little tricky. Minnesota is also a team that likes to run the ball. They're also very physical. They're also pretty disciplined. But they don't have the talent of an Ohio State or a Penn State or even a Wisconsin, a higher level Big Ten teams. Now, Minnesota could win this game. It's at home. Michigan could have gone through those first 5 games and think, you know what, we can beat Minnesota too. They did it in the past, overlooking TCU, so it could happen here. I don't think it's going to. I think Harbaugh is going to have his guys ready to play. They should pull away with Minnesota 33-17. That's the first score I've given today because the first 5 games weren't worth talking about like that. I don't think Nebraska's there yet. Give them another year or 2 with Matt Rule. I think they'll be all right. Not now. But Minnesota and Michigan should be a pretty hard game. Early, mid-third quarter, I think Harbaugh and Michigan is just going to be too much. So I have them winning that game. Then they host Indiana. I don't see a threat with Indiana. Michigan should win that game pretty comfortably as well. Now they're at 7-0. They go to Michigan State. This is probably their hardest game of the year so far outside of Minnesota. I don't think Mel Tucker is a great coach. Again, like I've said, I don't think Michigan State, their discipline was a big problem last year. I imagine it's going to be about the same. It might be better, but I don't think good enough, and their talent is not good enough to hang with a team like Michigan, who's just clicking on all cylinders right now. They've only lost 3 games in the last 2 years, including Michigan State. They're not losing this one. They had to come back with Kenneth Walker and a really good Michigan State team back then at home. They're not coming back this year. I think Michigan will just punch them in the mouth and do what they want to do. I think they'll actually get more touchdowns in the red zone than they did this past year with Michigan State. And then they have to play Purdue at home. They'll beat Purdue, no problem. No Jeff Brom, no problem. They lost some players. This is the game I'm worried about as a Michigan fan. They go to Penn State. I've said before, I think Penn State, this is their year. At best, they'll be 11-1, maybe 12-0 if they beat Ohio State over there in Ohio State. I think Penn State will go 11-1. Michigan will probably be 11-1. I don't see them beating Penn State. This will be a hard-fought game like it was 2 years ago when they went to Penn State and they made the playoffs beating Penn State on a last-minute touchdown pass to a wide-open tight end or a guy that busted open and ended up winning. And Penn State almost beat Michigan while they were only a 7 or 8 win team that year. Penn State will be clicking on all cylinders. Manny Diaz is a defensive coordinator. That defense is going to be still athletic, but very fast. They're going to be powerful. I don't think they'll beat Michigan at the line of scrimmage, but I think they'll just make more plays, and that home field advantage is going to be real. I think Michigan will struggle there. You'll see a few false starts from Michigan. Not discipline problems, but just because you're at someone else's house with over 100,000 people there getting loud, messing up your communication. I have Penn State winning by a touchdown or less. They go to Maryland. I don't know how that loss to Penn State would affect them, but I still think Michigan is superior to Maryland right now in terms of talent, coaching, and all the other things. And as far as Harbaugh, I think they beat Maryland, and then they host Ohio State. I think they beat Ohio State again. No C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud has kind of been a thorn on their side for a while. I know he never beat Michigan, but it's not his fault that they lost to Michigan. He's a great quarterback, very good passer. He lit up Michigan quite a few times in both games. So with that being said, no C.J. You're going to have a young quarterback who hasn't played before in this game on the road. And even then, C.J. Stroud did get a lot of passing yards 2 years ago, but he struggled to complete passes against Michigan over there. That's part of it because he was a lot younger back then, very inexperienced. I don't think Ohio State can handle the noise over there. I'm worried about the line of scrimmage if I'm an Ohio State fan with Michigan, because Michigan has dominated it both times. Make it 0-3 for Ohio State. I think Michigan wins this game. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I don't think Michigan's 3 or 4 touchdowns better than Ohio State. They weren't last year. They managed to pull away with a few big runs like anybody else could have done. If I'm being honest here, I'm trying to be nice.